In this video I will show you how to get stuff flying in stop motion. I shot a Lego man which appears to be jumping. In order to get him from the surface, I used some extra Lego blocks, which of course I will have to remove in order to make the illusion of flight. So this is my starting point, jumping Lego man with extra building blocks. So we're going to have to do quite some work in Photoshop. So what we need is the image which we want to change, and the first one containing extra blocks is number 4, and we will need a reference image, and what you need is that there's nothing to see in the area which we're going to trying to adjust. So in frame 4 my Lego man is positioned here. If I go to, like, for instance, frame 11, he moved to the left, so this area is now free. So I'm going to use this one as a reference frame. So command click to expand my selection, control click on Windows. If I now click open, I have 2 files. I'm going to use 11 as a reference, and 4 I'm going to try to adjust. So now I select my reference file and I select everything by hitting Command A on Mac and Control A on Windows. And now I'm going to do a copy, which is Command C on Mac or Control C on Windows. Move to the file I'm going to edit and paste in the image by hitting Command V on Mac, Control V on Windows. So now we have 2 layers. Background is locked. You can unlock it by clicking on this lock icon. Sometimes you get a dialog, just hit OK. And now we're going to move layer 1 down, so it's underneath layer 0. Now we're ready to go. So what we need to do is to remove a part of this image by making a hole in this one, and then the reference file will shine through. It will fill up the hole. So how we're going to do this, there are several ways. You can of course just make a selection and hit delete. The problem is that this is quite destructive. If you want to go back or make an adjustment, it's not possible. So we're going to use masks. So I select the top layer and I hit the little icon, add layer mask. It's like the rectangle with a hole in it. And if you hit this, you see you get a kind of extra rectangle in white locked to the image. Now this is a mask, and what you can do with a mask is paint on it with black or grayscale tones. And 100% black is going to create a fully transparent hole. So to show this, I'm going to hide the layer 1. If I now take elliptical marquee tool, make a selection, to fill a selection with the foreground color, I can hit Alt backspace, so Alt delete. So now you can see here on the preview that there is like a black circle, and this has made my layer transparent, so I can now see through it. If I make the other layer visible, you can see that it has filled in the gap, and it appears as if all the other stuff that is here is gone. So we're going to use this technique in order to create the mask. Several ways to do this. I mostly start off with a lasso tool, so the one having straight lines and not the freehand lasso tool. So I'm going to start by selecting all the areas which contain unwanted Lego blocks. So every time I click, I create a control point in my selection. So I'm going to slowly go around this area, go like this. Okay, And when we reach the beginning, you get this extra circle next to the icon, which tells you if you click now, you can close your selection. I'm going to add another part. This you can do by hitting Shift. Then you can see a plus sign appear. If I now single click, I can release the shift and I can add an extra area to my selection. Okay, so if I would apply this now and make this area black, this would have a very hard edge. Sorry, I'm going to just add a little part here. So in order to soften the edge, we're going to add a feather. So you can do this by going to select, modify feather. There's a shortcut, Shift F6. So in the future, I'm going to use a shortcut. Feather radius, I'm going to take 1 pixel just to have a very small, soft edge. Okay, ready to go. Make sure you have this like white rectangle selected. Then I hit Alt Backspace or Alt Delete in order to fill this area with black. To deselect, you can do a Command D on Mac and Control D on Windows. So now we can have a look at what we built. This might look a little strange because like a really hard edge next to the shadow. You could try using like for instance a brush in order to make this like less hard. But I think it's like 10 or 12 frames per second, so it's going to come by pretty fast, so you don't really have to be too perfectionist. I think this will do. So in order to save this again as my file, we need to flatten the image, because now I have 2 layers. If I hit save, it will be saved in the Photoshop format. So from the layers menu, you can select flatten image. And this way we're back to 1 layer. So now you can hit Command S or Control S to save. If you're going to do this, you're going to destroy your original. So maybe it's best to make a full copy of the folder containing all the images before you do so. But I usually work that way. I first make a copy of my originals and then I change them and oversave the file. Okay, so it might look like quite some work, and in fact it is, but this is how it's done. The only thing you can do is like maybe use a blue or green screen which you put behind the little man, which could make the process a little faster, but it's not sure. It depends on the quality of the chroma key. Using a reference frame is quite a fast way to work, but of course they need to be lined out and lightened exactly the same, because otherwise you will see the differences. So happy masking, I would say. After you finish this for all the images containing the extra blocks, you can import your files in Encoder, Premiere or After Effects to generate a movie and look at the final result.